Tar Kinoo in the building in the lab with me. You know what I mean? We're going to chop it up on this here day. You know what I mean? Each one teach 12 and all those things. What it do, sibling? What's happening?
True peace. Not much. Glad to be back. It's been a couple of months. A lot of stuff can happen since then, and I'm just glad that we made it back in here one more time. So what's the name of the topic? I know they're gonna have a fit when they hear the name of it.
The Silver Goblet Chronicles, man. It's the trafficking edition. We're gonna go some places, simply, man. We're gonna go some places with your assistance. You know what I mean? You've been, pardon myself, you've been prolific in regards to the information you've been putting out on the old Instagram and things. So I think, you know, with the current state of affairs, with the misdirections and, you know, the outside of the general fear porn which we've been subject to for a number of months, there's all of this hyperboles and misdirections and slide of the hands taking place, which is taking people's minds off the bigger picture and the bigger goal, and allowing these pervasive predators to continue to conduct quote-unquote business. So where should we start, Sibin? Where should we start?
Oh, it's a lot.
Where are we gonna start to unpack these things?
We can start with Biden and his foolishness. Like, I think that's a great start, because I've been putting videos out, you know, before he got in there, detailing what he would do. You know, so, and I think that's a good place to start, because a lot of people have which, you know, you got those who hate Trump, and a lot of them were victims of psyops and military rogue organizations, as well as so-called counterintelligence organizations. Because you have over here, you know, we got the CIA, the FBI, and its many subgroups, known and unknown. We got the Nazis, who've been continuing the foolishness they was doing when they left from in Germany over here. And then you have Japan and China, and you have all these different things that's going on. But I think the main thing, before I jump into that, is that people don't understand things when it comes to like racism. And each race have their own level of racism, or dislikes and prejudice. All that's part of the same thing, because a person, thin line between being discriminatory, again, that depends on what type of discrimination we're talking about. Like, I can look and say, oh, well, I like this type of horse versus this type of horse, or I like horses opposed to donkeys. I'm being discriminatory based upon my preference, right? Yes. But then racism is something that deals with what people are by nature. That's the problem. But in Noon, it's called one-sided racism. And when you talk about one-sided racism, that's what we've been experiencing, or other races have been experiencing all over the planet. And that is when one group treats another race negatively because they are another race. That's it. So the thing is, the things that, okay, so we know that the African race, the black race, whatever name you want to call, Aboriginal, whatever they want to use, don't get along with Caucasian people, right? That it doesn't mean all of them. It just means the majority, right? Whether they, but we're talking about the ruling class and the systems that they set up after that. That type of racism that was done, that when they call quote unquote systematic racism, it just means that me and somebody else of another race, preferably the ruling race, we can go to the same bank and not get the same loans or the same. That's now economic slavery via through the banking system. Then you have housing. That's racism through that, because now I can't live in certain things that they use in zip codes and things are like, all that's different forms. That's what they call a systematic racism. But it's an extension of the race that feels differently towards you. This is why these things are set up. The same way, if you live in a world or country where violent things are taking place, that's different. You create laws and weapons and stuff according to the type of events that are taking place that you didn't cause. That's different. But when you have a group of people who are against you, and as time moves on, as new inventions come out, this, that, and third, and they're making things against another group way before, let's say, way before you say you get out of so-called bondage, physical bondage, and then you start going into economics. They already had stuff pre-planned for that, and they started and tweaking it as it went on. It wasn't like we were the same, and then all of a sudden they we started doing something, and then they started creating things out of a response. That's not how it goes. And you're never going to have equality when all of us live in the same place. I don't know if I said that to you before, but
you certainly have. So
if all of us are separate in our own lands of origin, the racism factor in each race will never be activated, because you need another race in order for that particular part of you to be activated. So you can kill racism in the sense of by everybody being separated in land of origin and only deal with each other out of business necessities. That's when it makes sense. But because we in a world where things are not balanced, it's just not that black and white. It's just not human beings having issues. You have to add in extraterrestrials. You have to add in different types of spirits. You got folks playing around with their code and interdimensioning. Then you mix in technology with occultism and different forms of intelligences that deals with that, and depending on the nature of what spirit or being you're messing with and its agenda. You understand? It's not clear. It's not that cut, and you got a lot of people who just don't understand that. So, but anyway, back to it. I'm saying it to say this, right? I know a few people, one in particular, that hates Trump, right? He's way older than me. And he brings up all these things about, the last 4 years, what Trump said, and either other people who say, Trump knew about the virus and he didn't say anything. And that's debatable, right? I'm not in the meetings. I don't know how their intelligence works. The point is, if somebody knew, and a lot of times our people don't understand how certain things work when you get intel about certain things. Because if you the president and you know that something is in your country, something like a virus, the one thing you don't want to do is cause a panic.
Yeah.
So we have to use those type of things, even though I'm not trying to say that that's exactly how things went, but we just trying to, create a basic. Now, let's say he did know that the virus was here. And I ask people all the time, and they be like, well, he didn't tell nobody. How was he supposed to tell somebody? And then how you going to run the country if it's in total panic? And it was something that was purposely done, which we know that the CCP done that on purpose. We know that was a biological weapon, that was a hit. That's all that was. So you got that going on. But they blame Trump as if Trump released it. I said, how does that make sense? If the person, you want to crucify the person for knowing but didn't tell, and you going by what the media said, the same media that been crucifying him before this even came up. So
it's a conscious bias that those have turning. It's because they will utilize and some people, I think everyone has fallen guilty to this at some point, but you'll use certain information to bolster your argument, and as you've highlighted, that same media who was running him down and saying that, and now kind of flip-flopping and
Right.
saying another thing.
Right. And the sad thing is, and I said, okay, I'll play the devil's advocate. Okay, cool. Let's say he know about it, didn't tell the people. But they don't look at everything else that comes in a leadership position of dealing with a leader of a country, because they don't study that. It's easy to be on the outside and you doing all of this and you point out little things that could be true, but it's not the same as if me and you knew something was coming and we'll get on the phone, because it's different. If me and you, we regular citizens, we get on the phone and say, yo, I heard such and such from a good source that it's such and such coming. The word can spread like that. But that is different from a world leader if they say the same thing, the same way they said Trump shouldn't talk raw the way he talked, because he's the leader of a country, right? They have these rules. It's not constitutional, but they're saying it's not professional. It's not the way the leader of the free world should speak. But that is not law. That's just stuff that people all agree to an extent. The same way me and you go to a job interview, we have to dress up a certain way. We
Exactly.
That's I understand. These are rules.
Social norms.
Right. These are social norms of how they say it should go. But a lot of people done got jobs and didn't even go that route. Did some totally different, same way a person can go and shoot for or do a rehearsal for a movie role. Everybody don't go in there and read the script. Some people say, man, I didn't use the script. I did something else and got the job. So it depends. It's not a monolith. It's not a universal thing that everybody's supposed to do. These are just pet peeves and stuff that so-called people agree to how you're supposed to act. So anyway, so I said, okay, we're going to give him that. Okay, so the Trump fault, he knew about it, he ain't say that. Mind you, they don't add nothing in about China, Fauci, and all these people, and the fact that Obama them had said 4 or 5 years to the date that the virus became worldwide, that they already predicted that a virus was going to come. Not mind you, it's 2 books been put out back in the 90s and in the 80s that a virus would come, and one of them did have
a date? Didn't it have a date?
Both books had a date, but the second book had a funny name, but the other one had Wuhan in the first book in the 80s. I read that.
Okay,
So
the Edge to Darkness.
I can't remember the name of the book, but it was out in the 80s, and the book was written. It said a virus will come out of Wuhan. So I'm like, come on. Then the white lady that used to be on Montel Williams show, she was a psychic, right? If you know who, remember, we ever seen the Montel Williams show?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
She used to have, her name was Sylvia, right? She's dead now, but she wrote a book about in the 90s that said a virus was going to come, and she had another name for it in a whole nother made up place, but it was the same thing. But I know she copied it from that other book book that was out 10 some years before that. But it's 2 books that stated that was going to happen. That's not coincidence. All right.
I just think it's coincidence, man. No, just think.
Right. We're going to throw all that to the side. All right, cool. Y'all going to ignore where it came from and all of the crazy stuff that's going around about it was an accident, it came from a bat and some other stuff, and they didn't all of that. The same way they say AIDS came from a green monkey or somebody a black man having sex with a monkey.
Yes.
AIDS got here. That was another lie. People ran with that, right? So now let's skip all that. Now Biden gets in. One of the first things he does is stop the Keystone Pipeline. Kills thousands of jobs. Right? They let it happen. Now they're saying Biden didn't have the power to do that. It was Congress' job to make that happen or not. So then and this is not just saying this today and yesterday. This is 40, almost 50 days in. Y'all knew that's the case. Then why didn't Congress come in and say something?
Exactly.
Because it's on the book. This is part of the law. That's not, that Biden went and found some ancient some old loophole and used that. It's on the books that Congress has the power to do and do not. But they let him do that. Jobs going. They ain't saying nothing about that. All right. Now I'm gonna stick with the code before I jump around. So now The next thing he does, he stopped the building of the wall, which makes no sense because people on the outside is not understanding, which is common sense, sound right reasoning. If borders, every country got borders because it's for security. You can't. I can see if America was the only place on the planet where everybody else can walk and go in another country without no damn borders. You would have an argument. If the rest of the planet was like that, and your neighborhood, I can't come to your house and just open the door and come in there.
Exactly. This is the thing. There's
Right.
due process, man. There's
There you
things to
go.
go
You
through.
got locks, you got cameras, you got weapons and dogs. Why people got all these things? Because it's for security. So why is this man allowed to stop security to come in? Not only that, they saying 100,000 people done came to the border at Texas since this whole debacle began.
They've got footage of them coming over and on rafts and stuff over the local rivers and thing, man. You mean that?
Yeah, the Rio Grande. That's the name.
Rio
of it.
Grande, that's it. Yes.
That's it. And I got the pictures. I seen the video footage. It's a line like a concert line. They just standing there in this one little old boat that they get in about 4 or 5 at a time. You just seeing a man go across, bring them in, drop them off, bring them in, drop them off. Like I said, now again, I have human compassion for the problems that Mexican people and Honduras people are experiencing because of the crime and the failure of their government. This all ties into the name of this topic and the sex trafficking, right? And allowing them to travel from the bottom of Brazil for how long it takes to get all the way up through Brazil, through South America and all that, and get to America. Because all of the untold crimes and things against humanity that's taking place with that. All right, we know that takes place, right? And it got to be hella bad for them to travel from where they are to come here, right? Now, you got that going on. We being forced damn near to take this vaccine. Not only they forcing us to take it, they forcing people who ain't sick to take it. Who does that? Right? And they telling you can't go on federal grounds, you can't travel, and eventually they trying to get it where if you don't get the jab, you can't have a job. They doing all of that. They trying to make sure. Now they done ordered over 100 million needles and vaccines. They said Biden just ordered some more. Right? Now, you got all that going on. But the people at the border now, they letting them come in and they not, it's no testing. A few, I heard them say a little bit in the media that some of them are being tested, but a lot of them are just being allowed to come in. All they got and recite this memorandum that they seeking asylum or whatever, and then they took into custody and given all these benefits from being from another country. Now, number one, that's bad enough with the economy, but what about the health risk? You and you saying and then you got 11 million so-called. They saying there's 11 to 16 million undocumented illegal immigrants, right? Or they finna allow them to be legalized so they can vote for the Democrats again 4 years from now. So that's why they did that. And the money that Trump wouldn't give them for last year with that crazy package they came up with, they end up passing that 1 trillion that they just passed. They took our money. They paying back all the states that allowed Antifa and Black Lives Matter to destroy their whole state. And Trump said, I'm not giving y'all money for that. And y'all allowing it. And I got the National Guard and say, all you got to do is tell me to come in and I'll bring them and bring peace. They said, nah, we good. They still got the money for that.
They wanted the chaos and destruction, man. It was with photo ops and it allowed people, worldwide to see, people are out there protesting and stuff so they can monkey see, monkey do, as they're saying it.
Right. And they saying that a lot of the money that they got from that package last year, they ain't even touched it yet. Plus, each state has billions of dollars in their savings, but they was crying broke, and Trump was like, y'all got money. All y'all states got mad money. Why y'all asking us, the Fed, to cut a check when y'all got money in reserve? But that all that money, and again, they taking that money that they took from us and they're prepaying they folks for the future. And when Trump was telling them about all this crap about voting late and it's not right and all that, now they making laws and stuff talking about you can't vote. No more late mail-in voting and all this extra stuff. It's like everything he said that they was doing that was foul, that was on the books. Now they made legislation to legalize what he's saying, so they can't be used against them. So if the Republicans tried the same crap, they blocked.
Yeah.
This is the game that they're playing, though. All right. So anyway, go ahead.
What are people's thoughts in regards to this? Like, who's trying to toe the line and say, look, man, you know, clearly Biden didn't win this thing. Like, you know, what are we going to do legally to try and challenge this? Is there nothing that can be done now, and that's it?
Well, based on the research that I've done and some of the great people of different ethnic backgrounds in America and abroad, especially out of the UK and certain parts of Europe, all have been adding a lot of information that shows you. And on top of that, Trump put out an executive order in 2018 that there's foreign interference, that stuff was going to go left anyway. The military is in control, whether people understand that or not. They just move in a different way. Would we have liked to see somebody come in at that and stop all of that? It would be in a perfect world if you just dealing with the regular corrupt human beings in the government, but that's not the case. Like another country, I think Myanmar, how you say that?
Where they had that trouble, Myanmar.
Yeah, over there, they presidency was corrupt and they stole the presidency, and the military went right in and locked everybody up. And
Exactly.
Now in a place like that, they can do that. But in America, it's too much elitism in here. You got America, according to a lot of my research, got they call them DUMBs, deep underground military bases that humans have built. They saying 8 cities underneath it. Then you have extraterrestrials that's further down under there. And then you got all these different groups of humans, non-humans, using technology. The human being is like we like animals on a farm. Except we on the top instead of on the same level as the farmer, and the farmer looks out on his farm and be able to pick out what you want to do. We don't see the real farmers underneath. Who have bred in with using technology, cloning, hybridism, whatever, all that stuff you see on television when they show you these things, these movies, and extraterrestrials abducting. It's more sophisticated now, because if that was the only way, I'm pretty sure you'll see more so-called flying saucers coming in. That's not how it worked. That was a thaw. So while people is up here looking for ships to come down, and if they taking 800,000 children a year out of America, that's the number. Then we should see something from up there doing that. But that's not how it works, because it's such a intricate system based upon the governments, and then you know, they lock each other in with these Masonic orders and these other occult orders, and it's all in the politics, and then they lock in the patrol, the highway patrol people is involved, you know, truck drivers, you know, certain military groups, like I told you, CIA, FBI, and all these other paramilitary. You got all these different groups and subgroups all participating in this sex trafficking. And what people don't understand, though, see, this is where Noon comes in at. All right, we already knew this when you're dealing with our science. I'm sorry. We're in Noon, it states that in the bottom half of existence, which the ancient Egyptians called the underworld, we in the underworld. You're in the afterlife because you have with 9 ether. When we start talking about Newport and all that, that's dealing with the universes and the suns were putting out another type of energy we call 9 ether, which allow the pygmy gods, our ancestors, to live millions and millions of years. And after so many years, the energy eventually loses its power, and then it just dies out. And then the opposite energy, 6 ether, comes in, and it doesn't run off of mental brain power. Zupu, or 6 ether, runs off of body power, which is sex. So everything in the existence is running off of sex power. And it's different stages of that, right? So we know that sex rules. That's why they say prostitution is what? The oldest profession in the world. Exactly. If it's the oldest, that means it has to be the first thing that people was doing. Maybe not in the same capacity, but they're telling you that sex and doing things for sex and the energy that you can get if you know how to harness the sex can manifest different things from those involved. So now when you start getting into sacrifices and you know, kidnapping children and adrenochrome, you have to understand the science of it. I didn't know nothing about that, you know, adrenochrome and all that stuff until I started really digging into Barack Obama's background and then the Wapians and how Dr. York told them to support Obama and all that stuff. And so when I started looking into that, that led me into Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development Goals and different topics and all these different people and Bush and all the stuff that they was really doing, Rio de Janeiro, all that stuff ran into all it. Then I started running into people who was talking about adrenochrome. Shout out to Kev Grills on YouTube, Kush TV. He had a lot of clips from movies that Hollywood put out that showed that type of thing. And so I started doing extra research. But then I realized that my own science, that Amanubi Rakapata, which Avunu wrote in the 60s, had already said this and mentioned the Cabal all the way back in 1968 in the Bible Interpretations explanation booklet. So I said, oh, I see this word Cabal is being mentioned a lot now.
Yes.
In the late 2000s and stuff. And even when you go back and listen to what his name is, I think he's dead now. William Cooper, I think.
Oh, Bill Cooper, yes indeed.
He mentioned adrenochrome in an old VHS. That's what I'm saying. When you start going back, you start hearing things that you didn't pay attention. It wasn't a buzzword back then.
Yes.
But now I'm like, oh damn, Bill Cooper mentioned adrenochrome. And it was like an old, it could have been like, 2000 or maybe 98, 99. It was one, it's on a VHS tape, but they put it on to the YouTube. So I said, damn. So, and then I looked, then when I got into my own books, they started talking about how spirits, because there's not enough ether energy for them, they need to exist inside human beings as a host. And then they have to cause human beings to spill blood in order for them to subsist. So that's the natural diet of spirits, is blood. That's the first thing. Now you start talking about all these other beings and other type of extraterrestrials and these beings using science and technology to do all the things they're doing, and it came to a point now that it still uses blood and sacrifice and sex. That's why you got all these sex dolls and sex toys. It's a girl that I follow on Instagram. Let me get her. I'm gonna get you her name real quick. I'm gonna tell you, and people might need to go and check her out. What is her name? I think it's Lana.
Is it that young girl? She young?
Yeah, I'm trying to get her name. Cause she posts all the time, and she ride around with a couple of older white women. She called her mother and grandmother, and she said she had escaped from a sex trafficking ring, and she was naming all these people, Biden and I think Denzel Washington. She was naming a lot of people that we know that was using her in sex trafficking. And so you see, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm sure I do. I'm sure I know he done
I
that.
just can't get her name, and she was just posting earlier. But I listen to her too, and I try to be thorough when I go around and doing my research and listen to folks that you think are crazy, because people don't think that this stuff is really happening, but it is.
This is the thing, sibling. A lot of people, when they hear this, they say, that's just movies. Tar, what are you talking about, man? That's movie thing. That
Right.
can't be happening. Well, why would they do that kind of stuff? And then you say, okay, well, we can go back to the Franklin scandal, yeah, of 90. What was that? Was that 91? Was that?
Talking about Clinton?
No, the Franklin scandal, when they got busted having someone escorting in the White House young underage rent boys. This is in the Bush era. This was.
Yeah, I can't. I probably, if I see the actual the thing, I'll be able to know. That one escapes me.
Well, that for the listeners, that is there's a documentary you can find on YouTube called the Franklin Scandal or Cover Up, and that goes into tremendous detail.
You're not talking about the two white kids, the brother and the sister?
No. There was loads of them. There was loads of children involved.
Oh, okay, because they had two little a brother and a sister who said they was in the cult and their father was killing.
You're talking about the one over here.
They over there with y'all,
yeah.
Drinking their blood.
The Hampsteads, they're called the Hampstead victims or something like that, and there was extensive video footage from the police interview of the young girl and the boy, going into graphic detail about. But the thing is, siblings, see specifically on that case. To me, when I first peeped that there and did as much knowledge as I could back then when it first was, this is probably going 4 years back maybe. There was very limited information. Now, past that point now, I guess it's a 50-50. Let's look at it at 50-50. You've got 50% of the population saying they were coaxed, it was a hoax. They were coaxed into say this because the father or the mother has come out to say, they went on holiday somewhere to the Canary Islands somewhere, and they were saying that's where they were coaxed and taught how to what to say basically, because they was going to try and make some kind of money out of this maybe or something. But then you get the other side of the coin who were like, no, it is possible to do such nefarious acts, but who does that?
Both the insane and the insane. That's the thing. Like I said, whether they telling the truth or not, it was very detailed, and like I said, because of the research we've done since the internet been around and things like that, you have to put it all together. Even if they were lying, they still was speaking about truth. Her name is Linus Truth. Let me see. I don't know if you can see that.
That's yeah.
You see that real good?
Yeah.
So the audience, go to Instagram and just look at her Instagram, and she put up videos all the time about folks is following them, or when stuff happens, the police follow her. They don't ever do nothing too funny. They just cause.
Keep eyeing her.
Yeah, they just watching her because she escaped, and she got a lot. It's a lot of stuff that she tells you.
That kind of falls in line with the targeted individuals.
Which one?
That's a rabbit hole in itself, where, as you just mentioned, there is a phenomenon or a phenomena of thousands of people, especially in America. They've actually done. I'll send you a link. They've done multiple sort of write-ups and videos about this on actual news stations, saying there are people who are totally frightened and scared that people are watching them, and they've gone to doctors and they've had implants removed from them. They're saying, look, there's something in me, in my arm or in the back of my ear, and they'll have a surgery and something is removed. People saying that they're hearing multiple voices in their heads after coming from the dentist, for instance, and having work done to their teeth. And they're saying, yeah, there was a dental implant with something in there. Police, as you say, constantly just around people, just turning up at the house, or people just following them and stuff. That is, again, another rabbit hole, which ties into exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Israel just made it known overseas a couple of weeks ago that they got something called a God machine. They can make people hear God's voice in their head. That's a technology. So just imagine whenever they decide to tell you they got something, it's decades old. So if that's the case, we go with that logic. Imagine the evil things they've been using to get people to commit types of acts, thinking that they're hearing God, but that's some old evil human using some technology against you. And because your mind is religious and weak, and a lot of it, not just because they're weak, it's a lack of knowledge of these things that exist. You would assume it gotta be some type of spirit, good or bad, or God, and these voices telling you to do X, Y, and Z. So it's both. It's spirits on a lot of times. The other time it's just human beings with this technology that's working with the spirit or working with entities that are here interdimensional. It's a whole lot. And that's what I was saying about these about the technology. The technology is so disturbing. Like this book, I got two books, right? By Cyrus A. Paulson. If you ever heard of him.
No, I haven't actually.
You haven't? I did an interview with him. This was one of the books he wrote, and it's about he is the one that predicted COVID-19 a year before it happened. And I just got this other book he put out too, called The Great Reset.
Shit.
How big tech elites and the world's people can be enslaved by China's CCP or AI. There's a picture of him on the back, if you can see it.
Okay. Where
but I got
Cyrus Abe? Where is he based? Is he based in America or?
Yeah, he's in America, and I think he's in Cali. So he has a bunch of more books. Like I said, you can just go and you can go on Amazon. He got like 6-7 books over there. But this is breaking down how China has succeeded in creating AI that's conscious now.
Yes.
And they been feeding this thing organs, and it's learning by studying human beings in such a way that if they're not stopped, they're gonna enslave everybody through 5G was just created to take orders for robots, and 6G will give them the power to control all other people's gadgets. So that's really what 5G is not for human beings. It's for robots. And then you got 6G, 7, 8, and 9G, and I think is another one or so above that. And having that, it allows the allows the AI to think and move quicker and faster before we even perceive that an order was given. And so if we don't understand what artificial intelligence is, we know what it does because you have too many movies that out here that tells you that.
Skynet sibling from the 80s, what we talking about here?
That's what we talking about. And now it has basically arrived. All you got to do is look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is afraid of AI.
Well, Well, okay, yes and no, sibling, because he came on that the first Joe Rogan thing, and the stock went down after for blazing and all that something there. He was talking about the dangers of it, right? But months later, he came out with the Neuralink. Well, what's all that about then?
Right, because he's being mind controlled, because he's working with China, and so is a lot of people from Google and Silicon Valley. Some of America's brightest techs is either working for China from over here, or they got bases and stuff over there. And they saying China CCP, not the rest of the country, but the 70 million Chinese Communist Party, which basically is ruling through imperialism. They just call it communism now, but that's the new word. The old word is imperialism. All right? And that means we do everything for the emperor. The emperor controls everything. It's no different than a king. It's just imperialism from their standpoint. You know, when you look into their culture and how they had the shoguns and they martial arts and they rules and regulations and codes. All of that is a part of imperialism. That means they advance. Everything they do is for the emperor, not for the country, not for a dynasty. It's for the emperor. The emperor is the god.
Yes.
And they will do any and everything, and they plot for decades. They long distance with theirs. They will sit and wait and do whatever it takes to get that one shot, and that's what they've been doing. And so when you have that type of, when you know, it's just off of just looking at the movies and how they infiltrate, and the ninja movies and all those different things, and how they know how to infiltrate and how they do this, that, and the third, and then you add military to it and you add technology to it. It only enhances the ability to get in and get out, or hit you and you didn't know you were struck. You know, they real. That's a dangerous foe, because they don't appear to be against you. They're very reserved, and that's serious. You know, so one of the things I found interesting in the Great Reset book, right? He said he called something, it's called deep learning. Well, I'm gonna go into this. It's real short. He said, what is artificial intelligence as a whole? This come off page 12 and 13. Bringing to life an intelligence, or important an intelligence that thinks, researches, feels, creates, decides, and has desires to operate as an individual. Symbiotic or collective entity in the bio-digital world through biofields, biomatter, and all frequencies within the micro and macro molecular dimensions of our physical world, while manifesting through robotics, IoT, computers, virtual reality, augmented reality, holograms, mixed reality, cyborgs, or human cells as it connects via the internet, AI global bio-digital networks, and the human bio-digital network, right? Deep learning resembles a human being's process to observe information by smell. This is what the AI can do now. It can smell, touch, taste, visual, audible, or subconscious senses that can be deemed as gut feelings, all combined to recognize, identify, think, know, understand, analyze, decide, and upgrade thinking and physical capabilities in the world as we know it. However, for AI, deep learning seeks to develop another level of capability that allows the AI program to be aware and capable of operation simultaneously in the digital and the physical world, giving it control over everything with a conscious mind. That's what you're dealing with. So all these things this is why all of these social media things are out, these apps, and it's always encouraging people to show themselves. That's why you got TikTok, you got this, you got that. Let's go live. And even the movies and the green screen, they put the balls on the actors and the computer.
Yes.
Make them, all of that is the computer. That's the AI deep learning. Now, and they went from the world copying everything that Africans created through humans all the way down to the Caucasian, where everything you see, we are the trendsetter for the world. We gave the world mathematics, culture, all of that stuff. And everybody else took it and made their own version. But now, the copycat races now have created the ultimate copycat. And this copycat is going to have the mind and a digital nature of people that made it. That means their hates, their prejudices, and all of that.
What is their purpose of creating such thing? Because that, to me, that just sounds like something you can't control, in essence.
Right. It's because nature moves in opposites. When our ancestors lived on the planet, everything was organic. The opposite of organic is what? Inorganic. And the ultimate form of inorganic is metal.
Yes.
Titanium, whatever they're making this stuff from, its original skeleton. It's not organic. So that's the opposite. The same way you got night and day, then you have regular way life comes in, and then the opposite of how life comes in now is through male and female. But what you're saying is the opposite. Now you have people that can now become, I don't desire to have sex with the opposite sex. So now that's against life. Now I don't have the desire, so now I can't procreate and keep my bloodline going. I can't duplicate myself. That's the opposite of life. And now you to a point where technology has now infiltrated the human race, and now you're creating something that's what you creating is not even alive. Now you don't want from just human beings creating, which is still life, to now y'all done created something that is not life. So it's opposite of life. Organic, then not wanting to reproduce itself because of its, homosexuality and all of that. Now you create something that's neither.
And is this driven also? Is this also driven by the entities and the extraterrestrials, etc.?
In a way, yes, but even they are a byproduct and extension of what Zupu is as a whole. The negative side of the one supreme being, which we call six mind and noon, it has different variations of its mentality that manifests in human beings and other entities. So now they are an extension of, we in a death cycle. So now we at a point where it's, again, ultimate life will be the black race, because we represent life in the bottom half. Meaning, without the black race and all of the contribution we've done to the world, they would be nowhere. If Greece them had no contact with ancient Egypt and all of the stuff that they learned, if they was confined to where they were born at, they would have never advanced as far as they advanced. We gave every culture their life and their histories and the basic. We set all that in play. We the foundation of all of this stuff. We didn't create these other races. They didn't come from us. That's a lie that people keep telling. Right? African people only can create African people. You can't create something different than you. You have to mix with something that's not from you, and then through time and keep mixing away from that. But if you take two African people and they just keep producing with each other, you're not gonna produce an Indian. You're not gonna produce a Chinese person. You're not gonna produce an Irish person. That's not how genetics work.
So, all right then. So let me play righteous advocate on that point. So within that continent, that landmass, we've got multiple tribes, right?
Right.
Over on the east side of that continent, a lot of the Melanites there have, let's say, very prominent features, which are almost, I wouldn't say opposite, but very different to their West Coast brethren. So their hair's got less loose curls, and their skin potentially maybe a bit lighter, etc. So couldn't a mixture of one of those types of, because remember we're all tribes, we're not all exactly the same, couldn't that have sprung some different variations of
you're coming down through evolution. You have that the genes will change by what they call evolution, but that's dealing with the radiation that comes from the sun, and then the moon takes that solar plasma and magnifies that radiation, and then the earth receives radiation from the moon and the sun, and since the moon is a dead lunar body, it only makes the reflection, because the light that comes from the moon, that's because of the gamma rays that's coming from the sun. What makes it glow bright like that. And if you know anything about gamma radiation, that stuff is poisonous. It's a killer. Yeah, but they manifest that through the Incredible Hulk cartoon. Because gamma rays gamma rays actually the strongest force in the sun, and you only see it when the sun has those solar flares. And they said just those couple of seconds that the solar flare has, that's enough power to destroy everything. Just that little bit of flare. So the sun really is being held back from its true power that's in there. But people don't understand that. When Noon talks about all these things, it's just the problem with what makes it harder in Noon science is not that the books are hard to understand. It's trying to translate that into whatever part of the world you live in. So if I'm in the United States, I have to understand the Caucasians' verbiage in that particular topic that the book is speaking about. And so that's what the challenge comes in at. Because the books we have use certain terminologies, and you just have to know what part of the science to go look for that at. So he'll say 6 ether, but we know that 6 ethers is gamma ray. I wrote that and put that in a couple of videos, and it's in another book that I'm writing. So, and it's called, and Afro will use that in the 9-ball books about that 6 ether was like nuclear fallout when 18 million years ago. The Caucasian label that as evolutionary radiation or radiation decay, and that's how they able to tell how old stuff is, because it's based upon what? Decay. That's why when they start doing their testing, they look for decay, because they know that something died, and they have to look for that. They look for what was dead and how long it was. That's how you test it. So radiation is the same thing. The sun is constantly emitting radiation. So they just have to find a way to be able to test what the radiation is touching. They can't go into the sun, it's too hot. They can't get close to it. But they know that the sun is constantly hitting the planet and the moon with that, and it's coming to the earth. That means it has to be touching and affecting. But guess who they test for that? They don't tell you they test for that.
Drop it.
What you think?
Well, based upon the melanocytes, etc., I would say us.
Right, there you go. And this is why I did this book based on a book. It's called Our Hair. Can you see it?
Yes, indeed.
All right, and this show, and you look what's in the back behind the little girl's hair. What?
The sun.
The sun.
The Atun Ra, they say.
So, if you understand what Noon is saying about our hair, like you said, they test black people. We the oldest people on the planet. So that means we have things in us that exist from way back then, before radiation decay. And they know that. They have people believing they just around here digging up old bone. Nah, that's only gonna take you so far. But if you got a living specimen in the bin, right?
Yes.
All I need to go and is find the original tribes and kidnap them and do whatever. They already know this. This is why we're constantly being attacked, because we don't know who we are. That's one side of it.
Yes.
But
not
you
the
have
complete picture, but as you say, one side. There's many different angles to this thing.
There's many, because when most of the so-called woke society or conscious community, they don't deal with other beings being on this planet and coming here for different reasons and setting up shop. A lot of it is just hidden on purpose because it's again, we in a time where secrecy and secret societies, that's the rule of the day. And if you got human beings who doing evil that don't want to be seen, imagine something that don't look like you doing just as 10 times worse. You think they want to be seen? No, the whole thing is if you trying to survive and you using people and whatever reasons to funnel whatever it is to whatever you trying to do, whether if you trying to take over the planet or not, or you just want to exist and just lay on the low you got, that's part of it. But our people been so far removed that it's hard talking to the black conscious community because they still stuck on the white man and the police. I'm like, y'all really believe that's y'all biggest enemy is the police and the FBI? Y'all really think that's y'all biggest enemy? And they believe that. The TV makes them believe that. Every time you could talk to somebody who could tell you about a whole bunch of information. But soon as the boob tube come on, and you see a black man getting done a certain kind of way, all that go out the window. The cops, and somebody's controlling your anger. They don't understand that. And so I call that fake hate because you're being emotionally programmed to be upset. And this is what they've been doing. And this is going to go back to, again, it's still racism and speciesism, one-sided though. Whether it's an alien doing it to a group, it's still one-sided because it's doing something to you because you are not them. That's the thing. And depends on what type of racism the being or person has in mind for you to be able to, properly classify it. You can't say racism. No, it's one-sided. What we deal with in Noon is that when our countries and stuff is set up and later on in time, it's something called equal racism. You can have equal racism in the positive though. They just done charge that word racism so negatively and blocked it also. When somebody says racism, you automatically think negative. No, what you experiencing is one-sided racism. But if it's equal, that means don't do nothing to me you don't want done to you because you're different. Don't mess with the men or the women in my race, right? Physically or sexually, and I won't do that to you, right? Don't take my resources and I won't take your resources just because we different. That's called equal racism. That's how you can't stop what's in the nature. That's like trying to stop a hyena or a lion or a bear. That's their nature. You can't force them, the opposites of them, to live in the same place. It's going to be a problem. And this is what a lot of the Caucasian people have overlooked. The evidence is written. It's no such thing as living in peace and harmony. You only can do that if you separate it. Same way if you're in a marriage and one of the people in the marriage is a beast and there's no peace, there have to be what? Separation. That's common sense. And that's with the same people of the same race. So imagine different races having that problem. But the problem is they don't understand six ether and the way Zupu works. This is the brain news. That's another thing too. Another reason why you can see a human being can look like a monkey but not have monkey ancestors because the brain nukes that created all things is behind the image and likeness of human beings and animals. That's why you can look, a dog got eyes, it got a nose, it got a tongue, it got teeth, it got feet. Because the same type of creators that cannot be seen is the blueprint or the black print for everything in existence. So there are similarities. But just because a human looks like a monkey in the African race, that don't mean that. But mankind, right? People with straight hair who look like monkeys, they actually have those descendants though. So that's a difference between us. If you get this book, Our Hair, on fine9news.com, it explains that the hair that we have is the same that the sun has. People with straight hair can't trace their hair back to the sun. So there's no way we the same people. So we got to stop saying we all was created by the same God. That's a damn lie.
Don't act like you don't know. It's a no.
Because we it's no way. Show me the song with straight hair that can't do it. And I'm gonna read a little excerpt from the book, right? All right. This is here coming from page 6. I think page 6. I'm gonna just read a little something so you can understand this. All right. It says, this is where my research took me, and I drew my connection to more information on African culture in general. So what I do know is the Bible is a book that has literal meanings, allegory stories, metaphysical, questions on the nature of the mind, as well as spiritual, scientific topics within it. So not wanting to mistake one for the other or take something literal when it's not can be detrimental. So researching on our hair based on science and other philosophies helped me see more than a few quotes could say. In saying that our hair is more than a trend or fashion in the eyes of science. Some of those sciences are called astronomy, geoseismology, trichology, the study of the hair. These are the things you have to know about. This is how I got to where I got. These are the science I had to study. I had to go, this stuff you don't find in a regular book, right? I had to go into astronomy, right? Geoseismology, that's the earth and the way it moves,
Yes.
right? Trichology, the study of the hair.
I didn't know that one, sibling. I didn't know what trichology was.
Say it again?
I didn't know what trichology was still until you just brought that down.
Right, trichology, Trichology, is the study of the hair for the listening audience. Study that. That'll show you that African people and other straight hair people are not the same. All right? Astrophysics and helioseismology, which is the study of the sun's structure. You have to study that. Okay? Now, in the later times, three sciences, in the last three sciences, scientists have said on our sun had flocculi on its surface. This was discovered by a machine designed by G. Hale and H. Deslandres in 1890 called the spectroheliograph. It is this machine that studying the prominence from the sun from 1892 to 1908 that showed these flocculi in high levels of activity. Prominence are glowing red loop material shooting out from the sun. And these are the two Caucasians that found that the sun had hair on it. Hold on.
Oh yeah, we see it.
All right, you can see it?
Yep.
All right. This is the stuff that you're not gonna find in regular books. And this is what the machine looked like too, my bad. Hold on.
Bring that up a bit higher. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
It's an old machine, but that's the machine used to watch the sun, but they had to, had to fix the lens and they only can watch the sun during lunar eclipse because it's too bright.
Yeah.
They had to wait till the eclipse come in and then they start doing it. So when you look this stuff up, you're gonna see the sun. When you see the picture of the sun in black and white, they using machines like that. All right, now check this out. When you look up the etymology of flocculi, it means tuft of wool, T-U-F-T, right, as in hair. Here's the definition of flocculus in Merriam-Webster: a tuft of woolly hair on a plant, specifically a mass of hypofilaments or portion of mycelium of a fungus. New Latin from Latin, one of the small masses of tufts making up certain cloud formations. The hair African people have also fall into this category. Mundane scientists also say the sun has what they call solar filaments, which also identified as threads of hair or pilus, hair appendage. Filaments can be found in wool, animals, plants, protein, to name a few. The sun has ropes of plasma defined as solar ropes or flocks of flocculi, which is wool. So when you look up the sun and type in flocculi, you see that? That's the sun's hair right there. It's in plasma form, but it's still wool. It's plasma wool. This is what I'm telling you. And they're not going to show you that. That means they're altering the images before they put them out in the public.
But of course, sibling, they're composites. They're not really, they ain't really showing no real imagery of the sun like that.
Right, they're not going to show the real image, because if you can see the sun has natural ropes like black people have, it's just liquid and hot, it'll automatically tell black people they came from the sun. And guess what? It'll automatically kill every religion that we ever came in contact with. Off top. It'll immediately lock you right back into Africa, especially ancient Kemet, because we know that the sun was more than what they made it out to be. They didn't worship. They started worshiping the sun as we lost our reasonability. So the nature books were brought back by Nupu using the stars to put this information back in here and bring it back and say, yo, this is what this was back ancient times. You just have to know that you have to go back far enough to know that they was not, some of them were worshiping the sun after thousands and thousands of millions of years of losing knowledge, reasonability. We had the knowledge. We just lost what the meanings were of those things back then. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
We're talking what, dynastic period or before that?
We're talking about even the dynastic period. It's just the reasonability. It's like when people go and they look up ancient stuff and they pull up information that they find on like the hieroglyphs or whatever. Mm-hmm. They get the basic understanding.
Don't act like you don't know.
Okay, this picture represent this pictograph represent this, but it has multiple meanings. You have literal meanings, spiritual meanings. You understand all of that. The same way you can look into American culture, if somebody can look at a skull with bones on it, and in one case it represent poison if you drink this.
Yes.
But on the Masonic side, that's a secret society. But if you're not from here and you found this stuff thousands of years later, you only may understand that, okay, a skull and bones, you may only find that the skull and bones represent poison on certain items. But you don't know that skull and bones have another mystical meaning somewhere else. That's because the meaning, the reasonability is not there. We don't know. We only can get a literal meaning, and whatever else they find, form an opinion on an educated guess based off of that. So I hope I was kind of clear on that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then obviously it's the Rosetta Stone helps with the translation of said metadata / hieroglyphics.
Right. All right. Now I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna jump to one more page and you can go back to your question. All right. It said this is the antenna on the sun's surface in mundane terms. The sun also has solenoids or coils with electricity, which works through as a superconductor of heat from our sun's floculi. This is the same as black people's hair and how we generate a lot of heat when we gather to dance, etc. Yet, this is not told for the public consumption, and it is my duty as a parent to teach our children the real facts of life. That includes more than just the birds and the bees, and how we as a part of the human family do matter and have a place in this world with plenty contribution to date as well as the past. Before I move on, the final topic, let me add a little more about our sun and African hair. As scientifically speaking, the sun ejects out energy called coronal mass ejections, CME, and they come out in the forms of a double helix. So when you look right here, this is a double helix. You see the yellow part?
Yes.
All right. You see the helix? I want your audience to be able to see that helix. Now watch this. All right, I'm gonna get to that in a second. The helix and solenoid are shaped like a spring coil and spiral like the floculi, woolly hair, or the true stars, the sun's and the original hair of the Ethiopian race. Some solenoids can be found among the hair of kinky-haired people of today. And so when you go into this, I'm gonna skip a little forward because it's all about facts. Now look at that. Look at this black man's hair. Helix. That's it. The sun spits out that same coil every time. And this here is a different form of type of black people's hair.
Yes, indeed. And that was that first one. What's that? That's the straight hair, right?
Right. The first one is straight hair, and they call that
and that's a tube, isn't it? That's tubular hair, whereas we have ribbon hair, right?
Right. It's called one. I think that's 2A hair. Then you have the little more kind of curly is 2B. Then it gets a little bit more curly 3B, 3C when it start coiling up. So black people have 3C hair, 4A, and 4B, I think. So these are different hair structures that I showed you. That if you people get the book, they'll be to see the different types of hair that we have. But our hair starts at, once again, 3C all the way up, and that's when our hair curls, then kinks, and it gets tighter and tighter. So they know what the type of hair we have scientifically. We just didn't know. So the books on fine9news.com, it's the links to the regular books they can get on the PDF for free, and then they can get this book that I authored for my kin daughters. And so anybody who have children who really love their hair, you need to get this book, because it'll put the scientific in things. And then, because what happened is people don't have the science. Only thing we could do is say, I'm black and I'm proud, I love my hair, and that's fine.
Yes.
But if you know that your hair serves a scientific purpose, it makes it even more powerful. And it's something. It's more than just being proud. It's just knowing that you represent more in this world than what you're being told. It's just different layers of racism, one-sided racism and hatred, and there's so much going on. But I know we went from a lot. I know I talked about a lot, but we're the ones that they're studying to know how long the planet been around. They know that. And they have to pretend that we're not as intelligent as we are, and give extraterrestrials props for the pyramids and things like that. Those entities and beings are here, and they have their own levels of intelligence, but they can't take credit for the stuff we done. And that's what Noon is about. It explains that, so. But go ahead. I mean, what's the next step?
So now let me stick on this moon. This is a sun thing.
Okay.
So what's the main significance sun-wise? Is that part of the source, or what? Or
right. Right. The stars were created by nature itself. The stars grew the universes into universal order. So when you look at a universe, right? A universe is composed of solar systems, and a bunch of solar systems make a bunch of galaxies. Then a bunch of galaxies make a universe. So whatever order, when you look into, if you go on Google or DuckDuckGo and type in universe, and you see all those different swirls of galaxies, and it's a whole, and then it's a dark space, it's a gap for the next one. That's a universe. The stars, all those glowing lights, is what grew that whole thing into order. It's the universe is a being. So the stars would be the visible gods of the invisible one supreme being. But it's stages though. Right? The Bible just say it was in the beginning was dark, then it was light. That's not how that works. They're giving you a real crunch version of that. Even in ancient Kemet, they tell you that it was, the waters of chaos and none. Right. But the name of the science is Noon, because you're talking about noon science, and noon science is not chaotic, but it's talking about what happens before creation is grown into order. When they talk about black holes, a black hole is the smack circle of chaos. It's no traveling through a black hole going to another part of the universe. It's not true. That's the chaos. Wherever every star sits, where our sun sits at, it's a suction there. You just can't see it. It's holding it up. And the sun is able to resist it for its lifespan. When a sun dies, and you go and see where a visible black hole now, a star used to be there. And what happens is they block up. It's like a bunch of tubs everywhere, and you got a stopper to keep the water from going out. Except in this sun is a stopper to keep the universe or the solar system it created from being sucked into that time. When it's time for everything to go back to none, chaos, the suns will blow up, the planets will blow up and explode because mankind will be fighting on, and aliens will be fighting on all these planets at the same time and hit the damn nuclear button on all these worlds and blow up. Then the sun will blow up, allowing the stopper to no longer be stopped. Then the suction, where the chaos of none, which is the suction, will suck everything back in for 5 billion something years and grind it all the way back to dust. And then the sun, or Atum, right, will come out of it again. But it's not one, it's countless stars will do that. So when the Egyptians or the Kemites gave that story, it's just telling you this is how they anthropomorphize. It's not a man coming out of some watery abyss and pushing up a boat in the bark. No, it's just telling you that the cycle of creation is coming again, and that the force of Nupu is coming out of the chaos and it's pushing against the gravity. That's why it's a boat have to hold it up to keep it from what? Sinking back into the black hole. That's what stars represent. That's all it is. It's not a man. It's a star. But it's conscious. That's Father Ra, Father Ray. But it's all bunch of them. It ain't no one. Wherever there's a star, they got a similar story like ancient Kemet told. And this is why they don't want to tell you about what's on these other planets, because these other planets was created by the same star. And that star is the father. And these planets are female. And that star made sure his story is told on each planet, no matter what that being looks like on Jupiter or Saturn. They all know who he is. The ones that got knowledge.
So you're saying simply on every quote unquote sphere or structure or light source that there's some kind of intelligent life force.
Yes, it is. Right. It's just some of them may be under the surface versus on, because Earth is the only planet life on the surface and underneath because of the distance. It's what the scientists call an inhabitable zone. So every other planet, life is underneath the surface because it's not, like I said, Mars used to have water, but it doesn't no more. You see what I'm saying? The rest is not there. Those planets get water later on because water represents life. And the sun created all of these planets, so we know that hydrogen, we know H2O is what, 2 hydrogens and helium. So that means they had water on at one point. The chemicals changed. But Earth is the only one that maintained her water. The rest lost it due to the temperature and all that stuff like that.
And
they're not going to change it. Say it again?
Was that due to just natural events, or would those potential inhabitants have had an effect on why the water went and etc.?
Because the planets at one time were all closer and unified. They not no more, because once the sun exploded with 6 ether, it pushed them away and put them in that distance where they away from each other. That's why you could tell that they once were all unified, because every now and then they all rotate in the same damn side. They rotate together. Every now and then you'll see them link up and rotate together and go back into their orbits. Or they will come closer. That means if they're able to be millions of light years apart, millions of miles apart, and then all of a sudden you can see 5 or 6 of them come close together, that means they could have been closer together before. Because if not, that would never happen. But what the sun is showing you that he's able to pull all those planets in order if he wanted to. They just don't want to tell you that the sun is intelligent. We knew that. Only people who don't know that is people in religion, because religion came out of pantheism, and pantheism knew about these gods and how these gods were actual. The ancients is the planets and the stars. Those are the original gods. But through time, when you read, like again, if you look in ancient Kemet, you see all these gods. You have what? Tahuti, the moon god. Why? Because he comes from the moon. He's a spirit manifested from the moon. But the moon is the god moon. So you have the god moon, the orb, and then you have the moon god, which is coming from the mind of the moon, who created the spirit part called Tahuti from its mind. That's what these Horus, Heru, whatever, all these are spirit gods that are manifested from the core or the center of these orbs' brains. That's it. So in pantheism, whether it's the cult of Amun-Ra or Bastet or whoever, they took on human forms because they incarnated into human beings. And when they wrote about them, they knew that the person was just the host. But in incarnation, the human and the spirit, God or goddess, become one. And if whoever they have children, when that person is incarnated, they children become the son of God or goddess. And that's what the Bible is halfway recording when they say that when they say that Jesus was the only son of God, it meaning that Cleopatra's husband, right, who had a child with her, that's who they talking about. That's the only son that she had with him. You understand? That they only focusing on that particular person. But he had the god Pan incarnated in him. Marcus Anthony had the god Pan, who was the son of Hermes or Tahuti, in him. You see, so when these people are incarnated, when they have children, the spirits in both parents split and put a portion of themselves in the child or children, and then they become incarnations or sons of gods and goddesses. That's all it is. But in ancient times, this was normal. That's why you had all these gods and goddesses walking around at the same time, because they was incarnating in all these different people, doing different stuff. But religion came and they compartmentalized all of the gods into one god, whitewashed it, and then only focused on certain aspects of incarnation and just took incarnation out and didn't focus on it and just said, believe that this is such and such. But that's religion came out of pantheism. That's all.
So is this incarnation thing still taking place to this day?
Yeah, to this day. I put it in one of my, that Bill Gates is Tahuti incarnated, because he's dealing with medicine. He's dealing with killing people. People think Tahuti is a god of healing. He's not. He's known as Mercury and all that stuff, the medical symbols on the hospitals, all this stuff you that's dealing with, that's Tahuti doing that. So when you talk about vaccines and getting killed, that's the moon god doing that, because through time these gods became more and more evil because of the cycle we're in. People don't understand that. So a lot of people, I got into that so-called Kemet would battle and defend these gods, but then go against a Christian and say, why y'all always talking about y'all God? Why y'all always talking for y'all God? Y'all always defending y'all white God. You defending the Egyptian ones, who is really in the white gods, because they changed names. But if you know what you're looking for, you'll know that. Go ahead.
So siblings, so what you're saying is then, so the Grecian gods who have similar attributes, you're saying that those gods
I'm saying those are the same gods that we was dealing with before they was on the planet. But gods go from people to people and nations to nations as time changes, because the gods have to maintain their honor and worship, and adoration, and they control the destiny on the planet. So they can't stay in African people. African people, we failed and lost all that great stuff a long time ago. Only when you see people moving and shaking, that's because those gods are making them move and shake. So when the Caucasian time came to run, that's when Greece and Rome and all of them just started taking over, because Zeus and Ra is the same one. It's the same one. They just Caucasian style. That's who the cycle called for. Zeus, who used to be Ra to us, or Ray, has now fooling with them. It's not, and people just think because the languages, they think it's different gods. No, it's the same ones.
It's the same thing, innit? Yeah. And hey,
that's it.
So simply, what you've just unpacked there is a TV series currently being shown on Amazon called American Gods.
There you go. Right there, exactly. That right there is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's not as raggedy, right? But instead of that one dude running everything, they all working together. But that's what they showing you if you take away everything else. All them gods, except Ra, is at war with the rest of them. The Earth God, Geb, is in Ray, we call him Ripu, in Noon. Ripu is at war with Geb, Asar or Osiris, Tahuti, Thoth. That's who he's fighting. That people don't understand it. It gets crazier as you start understanding, because we've been made to go to sleep subconsciously as we lost our reasonability, and then those gods put us under spells and went to this race and came back and took over and dispersed us everywhere, and those same gods kept us messed up all this time. And now the time that Nupu God has came back, which is the best mind of the one supreme being, is forcing the cycles and seasons to work in darker people's favor, as well as the oppressed, right? Now, those gods who came together against the sun gods 6,000 years ago, is now they getting took. These gods, only thing that can be done is locked away, because they're original gods. So only thing, you can't get rid of them because they still perform a purpose on the planet, because the orbs are the original source of where they come from. And since the orbs are too big to do it themselves, that's what the spirits are calling Noon, the arms and legs of the one supreme being. These are the angels. So they have a purpose. Even if they evil as hell, they still have a purpose to move groups of people in whatever direction that Almighty Nature wants them to go in. We got no say in that. And it's not because they just so evil. They supposed to be evil at this moment in time. They supposed to do this much death, this much killing, this much child molesting, this much sex trafficking. They all doing that shit, all of them. But now the change. Now we talking about the one supreme being itself, its negative side. I'm giving you the source, where other people are only interacting with the little things. They may be talking about aliens and interdimensional beings. I'm talking about the actual brain nukes that work through the orbs, who work through the spirits and the conscious gases that control all those aliens and human beings. They control all of that. I deal with the hierarchy, so I understand this is what takes place. There's nothing we can do about that. But let nature take its course and take the knowledge that comes out in these type of interviews, and that I tell people all the time, and I'm just, even on this show, there's nothing wrong with being a nationalist in the sense of be proud of your nation, right? Be proud of your race. Be proud of the contributions you made. I'm talking to those in their right mind, not the ones that believe that they superior and the evidence doesn't support that. Like, for an example, not picking on the KKK or skinheads, like they super nationalist and proud to be white. But first understand where you come from, right? And how y'all started up from the Asian islands, and y'all had to work your way up through war and bloodshed and all that extra stuff to get a piece of something and whatever. Understand your whole thing in totality. Then be proud of how y'all survived but also be humbled by the wrongdoings your ancestors had to do to get certain things. That's what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean don't be proud of who you are, but don't let it be based in correct information. Once you add all that in there, you be like, oh, I'm good. I don't have to yell. Black people are so extra because we being suppressed constantly all the time. And when you find out you from something and you did come from something before, you know, slavery or whatever, you always got to say I'm black because you being bothered all the time. So our proudness and stuff comes from being suppressed and always being bothered. That's difference. Now, in the mix of all of this stuff and the difference between all these races, and I'm gonna say this again, other groups are trying to start another race war, which is what China and Japan and all these other Mongolian races are doing. Right? That's what they tried to do with the Nation of Islam when Japan was feeding Elijah Muhammad a lot of information is dealing with the military, and they military stance and stuff was because it was a Japanese militia that Elijah Muhammad was messing with, and they was using Elijah Muhammad a threat in America that they was going to be attacked by UFOs with black men in them, right? That was built and these ships was built on an island somewhere in Japan, and he was saying this for over 2 years. They said the Americans gonna get attacked by the mothership, but America didn't get attacked by the mothership. America got attacked at Pearl Harbor. And soon as that happened, Elijah Muhammad got in trouble with the government for that because he was taking money from Japan. But Japan is the one that was giving Elijah Muhammad and them that the white man is the devil and all. A lot of that talk came from the Japanese. If people look at some of his original members, they was deep in there, and that's why you read his the lessons of the Nation of Islam. They big up Japan hard. When Japan was fighting Russia and all them back, Japan was the Nation of Islam's ideology of a strong nation, and this is who we should be like them. They was bigging them up. If you look at the lessons, they give Asian, when they talk about Asian, they ain't talking about Africa. Even though they use the word Asian for Africa sometimes, they not talking about Africa. They're talking about what China is.
Is that why they use the term Asiatic black man?
That's the true reason. Because Africa is not Asia. But the point is, in their lessons, they tell you that black people didn't listen, and they ended up going to Africa for a couple of thousand years and became savage and got big lips and all that because we and our hair went from straight. That's in their lessons. So there's no way y'all. That means the information you got is anti-you, especially if you in the nation and you have kiki hair. That information that was given had to come from somebody who wasn't African. Facts. So that has nothing to do. And I keep telling people all the time, y'all, the Nation of Islam keep talking about the fall of America. You can find mad conversation from Elijah Muhammad all the way to Farrakhan about the fall of America. Why y'all still here? I haven't seen a mass exodus to Asia, wherever they call in Asia. I don't see no Nation of Islam, welcome to the Nation of Islam country. I ain't seen nobody going there and people doing, debate about what they believe over there. Every time I keep saying, the America gonna fall. Elijah Muhammad put out a book, a red cover, Fall of America. It's mad books they got. Why y'all still here?
When they say that, don't they mean the system of what we
know?
No,
they said America. I heard many of them say, well, Allah trying to shoot, but the black man, he in the way. If that means you talking about the country, not the system. The system is the corporation. When you say the fall of America, you talking about the corporation and everything that's involved with it. But there also is a cataclysm that comes every 72 million years that's gonna wipe out a whole bunch of stuff. So when they talk about America, again, the people, they was giving the information to the black people who's absorbing that didn't realize that was predictions of the system. The system, according to my research, was done last year. Trump and them already done dissolved the corporation. DC is no longer under the control of the Vatican. So it's a whole nother, it's again, depending on where you getting your information from. But a lot of them don't equal stand that. So when you talk about the fall of America, if they believe that the land mass was falling like under Atlantis or something, going under the water, y'all would have been gone. So that's something that's not right with that. You understand? Farrakhan is not trying to go nowhere because he's living good off of that.
Very good.
A lot of them, if they believe the end was coming, like sometimes you got like people, I'm using example that believe in the end of the world. If they believe that a portion of the land they was in was gonna end, they would have been made in all the trips they would to leave, like Jim Jones did. Jim Jones said that we got to go, we got to get out of America, and guess what? They went. So if y'all claim the place y'all is in the wilderness of North America is the land of the white devil, why are you still here? No answer can be given to justify that. Because the Caucasian is not stopping you from getting on a plane and going to wherever you say you want to go. Now, if that was the case, I can say, okay, well, we can't go nowhere. But they've been here
Don't act like you don't know.
almost 100, by 80 years. Y'all ain't went nowhere. Now the Moors, that's different because they love America. And they this is ours. This is what the Moors teach. So the Moors don't have to leave because they claim America and they say they're Moorish Americans. So they don't have to leave. But anybody else, whether it's people that follow Marcus Garvey or whatever, Garvey said go back home.
Pan-Africanism, of course. You got the classed as Garveyites or Pan-Africanists in it. So of course their ideal is to go back to the quote-unquote land in it.
Right, but we should, even when they jacked up Garvey and messed his thing up and sent the people back, they should have got their money and still been going back since then.
Of course.
Why we don't see a history of the UNIA just got a bunch of history of boat rides and airplane rides and them going back to Africa. Why y'all still here? It should be something showing. It's the same way if I wanted to see how many times people done went on a carnival cruise or whatever, they got a history of showing you how many trips they done took. Going from here to there, or when they export and stuff. Yeah, we've been exporting this from this country for 40 years. Why is there's no records that people can look and see? Why y'all stop trying to go back after that?
I'll tell you why, sibling. A part of that, in my humble opinion, based upon history, the infiltration of the UNI, the government agents that went in there who just messed up the accounting books and made all of that stuff happen, and him getting arrested and convicted for
I'm saying as far as Garvey, that was understood, but what they got to do with all the people that came back on the boats? Just go back again.
Because it was, I guess I get it, sibling, but without Marcus the Great, towing that line and being that light and that guiding figure, it crumbled into nothing, in it, and it's been fractured and splintered into so many different things.
Of course, right. I understand that, but for those who have enough, but still, if y'all believe in the message like that,
yes,
it's that shouldn't have stopped you, because Garvey said go back to Africa. He didn't say go back to Garvey. And where they sent him at, they should have, go follow him. If that's what y'all gonna do, he still say get out of here. They didn't. But the Nation of Islam is more under the scrutiny because of how hard they talking about the Caucasian. Garvey didn't do it like that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's different when you telling the people, yeah, this person did this, that, and the third. Up, you mighty people, y'all did this and that. You need to go back home and build Africa up. Even though he was in racist America, all that don't change nothing. But if you talking about somebody and you making a living, the white man is the devil. This. And you going around, you producing people like Malcolm that's going around, bringing them in. Why y'all didn't establish? And then you got a picture of them in the Nation of Islam where it showed, I think it was Elijah Muhammad, hands going across the water to Africa. They had a drawing. So what the hell? That was all for fake. It was for fake.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that image. You gotta send me that. Yeah.
It's an old drawing you will see with the Nation of Islam drawing, and it got two hands, going across to Africa.
Yes.
Because this is what I'm telling you. People is falling victim to the talking points. And logos is a form of 6 ether and noon science too. People are stuck because of the words. Logos in any language, not just English. It's a power that the negative side of the one supreme being uses to stigmatize people and lock them in. The same way we was locked into the Bible for years, locked into the Quran. You understand? All of these things, the same way it locked, the way Malcolm was locked in, he knew what the Arabs did to us in Islam, but he still went over to Sunni. It didn't. You have to understand. You have to be like, okay, what made him do that? When you knew the facts, because you're talking about spells. People don't understand what logos is. I understand why he done that, but the point is, we don't know. We see the results of words. The same way a pimp can talk and make a person do this. The way a preacher can talk and make you give all your money away. And they ain't saying nothing that fly, but millions are doing. It's power, and people don't understand logos. They don't understand. The nature books is very important. It's really deep.
You already know the things, sibling, and you've thrown out a lot of information out there and a lot of jewels for people to go and study and verify and stuff. Hey, I'll make sure I'll put in the description the link to the website so they can look at the book and download some of them PDFs of the 9-ball, 8 ball.
Say that again.
That for Uno book, or is it the behind the 9-ball?
No, it's not behind. It's called the 9-ball counts. The Nawapians was saying that based upon York kept saying there's no books ever was written called Behind the 9-Ball, because that was something he just kept making up to throw people off. It's called the 9-Ball counts, 1 through 4, the Bible interpretations, all your search for knowledge, if so read me, the transcripts to the Nature tapes, and the introduction to the Nature book 1, book 2, and book 3. All of those was written by the same man. But they can go on the website 59news.com and go to the book section and download those PDFs. And they need to go, if you need anything, if people in the health are trying to get their health right, they can go to 9bynature2.com. And you can put the link in there, whatever, how you want to do it. And these things that people need to know. I mean, like I said, noon is for all peoples. It's the science of the black race originally, because we were on the planet first. We developed that science with the help of sound right reason, but then nature goes through a state of, when it's in a state of knowing, and then it goes through a state of not knowing, or it has a state where this one supreme being is conscious, when Nupu is ruling, and then when Zupu comes in, the one supreme being go in the state of subconscious sleep or coma or death in many forms. And Nupu comes again and start resurrecting the mentals of person, places, and things. And that's all that's taking place. That's all this knowledge is coming out. That's why everybody's starting to know about getting things and stuff like that. So, so you was good on the sex trafficking, or you wanted to go deep on something else? This is a universal build, sibling. I'm giving them little keys and stuff, and we went many different places. When we come back for the part 2, we'll go into some specific detail into the 365,000 plus missing children going astray every year in just America. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not to mention the young women, not to mention,
other continents. We'll go into a more specific and detailed build on that for most definitely for details. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell a brethren, tell a sister to peep this thing, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I hope that do you know that there's some of the people that you interviewed that was kind of big names, do they ever go back and watch other videos that you've done with people like us?
Yeah, man, they peep it, most definitely.
And they keep in contact with you?
Yeah, man. I'm in contact with pretty much, I think, apart from maybe one or two guests, everyone I'm in regular contact with.
Mm-hmm. That's yeah, maybe we ought to do something. You know, maybe they can get involved with some of the information and maybe, link it some of these videos and we all can just hop on a question and answering thing one day.
Yeah, man. We can. You know what? We'll talk about that back office sibling and we can see what I go on and see how we can pan that bang up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I enjoy. Go ahead.
Go on. Sorry. No, you man. You're the guest.
Yeah, I was just saying that I enjoyed everything. The opportunity, man, because it's a lot. You know me, you be on my gram all the time, so I'm all over the place. I'm telling you, I'm all over the place keeping up with this thing, and it's just hard getting that information to woke black people because they so cyclops with one thing and they don't realize it's so much more going on, and it doesn't mean you're throwing away your race pride because you take information from things that are taking place on the planet. Just because the information is coming from a group or two that you may not like, or information come, it just that's be the thing. Our people, when they're woke, they become victim of their own racism.
Listen, sibling, truth is truth. It don't matter where it's coming from. You heard me.
And that's the thing. You could tell them something and be like, "Oh, who told you that?" And be like, "Oh, such and such." Oh, I don't want to hear that because it's such a. I'm like, wow, okay. You gonna be the victim of ignorance before you be the victim of somebody else that you want to be a victim because you upset that our race went through something. But the main thing I wanted to add on that too is that the Mongolians, which covers Japan, China, and other, Taiwan, Taiwanese, whatever, they just different groups of the elite, not the people that's not doing any harm. Mm-hmm. They're trying to crank up the Asian thing now. They were saying some Asian people that got killed in Georgia and Atlanta, they trying to run this thing and make black people the scapegoat of doing harm to Asians now in America.
Oh, you're talking about the 6 people that were killed down in Atlanta. I thought it was a European guy.
White guy, yes, it came out there, but before there was some violence going on, but then he killed 8 people, somebody got a massage parlor. I don't know, but the point is this. Black people haven't done nothing to Asian people ever since we gave up following behind Martin Luther King and gave up our own businesses, and the Asians, Chinese, Koreans, whatever, moved in our neighborhoods and opened up mom and pops and all these Chinese restaurants, all that. If we ain't did nothing to them for serving us bad food, taking billions of dollars out of our neighborhood, not giving nothing back, but only and owning all the laundromats, all this stuff is you can look in the hood and see. If we haven't done nothing to them, that's worse, more damage than taking out 8 or 10. You mean to tell me out of the 50-some years, or since the civil rights movement to now, after all of the economic damage they did and all of that, we ain't done nothing then, so why would we do something now? But they're trying to stir up this race thing. Same thing they did with George Floyd. George Floyd was what they was trying to get. They couldn't get people to nut up when they did Breonna Taylor and other people. But they were successful in getting George Floyd. And guess what? And Biden them used that. Kamala Harris them used that whole tearing up all the states and made it look like it was Trump's fault.
Smoke and mirrors.
Right, smoke and mirrors. But then they try to compare January 6th with what happened last year. How? Because y'all had
apples and oranges, man.
Yeah, but it's whole police stations that the Black Lives and the Antifa and them took over. They killed cops. They say like 23 people got shot. And guess what? Pelosi and all them did. All they did was kneel down with some fake ass kente cloths on, talking about they stand in solidarity. That was crazy. I almost died laughing. It was so funny. Biden, all of them kneeling down with kente cloths on, and Kamala was like, "Yo, we with y'all." And Kamala and them was bailing Antifa and Black Lives Matter people out of jail for committing crimes,
criminal acts
against federal buildings. They took over police stations. How is that worse than January 6th?
And let's not get it confused. We're not talking about the normal people who was out there protesting.
Right, we're not talking about
various different nations. We're talking about the paid agents.
Yeah, and they know that. And Trump said that's when he did that. That's when they put Antifa and them on the terrorist list. But nobody talks about that. But before that, Trump he didn't denounce white supremacy. Yes, he did plenty of time. Then he put them on the terrorist list. But they ain't talking about that. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
But the problem is too big because people need to see accountability in the form of not just arrest, but death. People need to be put to death for the things they done. Because back in the day, in the early days of America, when lawyers and politicians got caught lying, they took them outside and shot them. So I don't know why they acting like they don't understand. All of a sudden, we're so civilized.
Yes.
You just want to impeach. No, you don't. Y'all they making laws to go and destroy whole lands, like Biden over there attacking Syria. It's 4 countries Biden done started a war with since he been in there. And they ain't talking about that. And you know he messing with Putin and ignoring China. China already told him, and he said that China gonna eat our lunch. China and them finna try to take Taiwan, and they threaten America to stay out their business. So Biden is over here picking at Putin, talking about he's the killer, but China is the one, the CCP released the virus with American citizens helping and funding and doing the research. He ain't gonna say nothing to them. And they gave, before we get off, I don't know if you knew that, but he gave, and Trump had a bulk energy executive order protecting the power grids of America.
Yeah.
Biden suspended that for 90 days and gave the
CCP, right?
He gave the CCP the access to America's power grids, and they shut down.
Yeah, and didn't that happen at the same time when Texas was going?
They did that in Texas, right? This is what happened when they asked Psaki, the redhead demon, Biden's press secretary, exactly why did he give China the code? She didn't say the codes just to America or the power grid. She said, why did Biden suspend Trump's executive order for 90 days and gave the key and gave the codes to China?
You put that on IG, right?
It's on IG, and she was stuttering and saying, I have to circle back. If they don't see something wrong with that, they wanted to throw Trump under the bus, but Trump didn't allow another country that we know is a threat to shut down a whole state, and people died and starved, froze to death in their cars and at home.
Yes, man.
And no one said nothing.
Children.
All of that. That's what he did. Biden gave the power. He gave the cheat codes to China, and they did. You know, China did that to India too. They say they did that. They did it a little while ago back to India. Shut the power grid down over there.
And the power grid ain't even that stable, depending on what part of India you're at and shit. So right. that's Demonocracy, sibling, man.
That's what
Demonocracy.
it
But
is.
listen,
It had nothing to do with it. It had nothing to do with the weather because they were showing other those windmills or whatever they was using down there working in the same cold conditions in a whole nother state or country that was extra colder than there, and they still was working. So they cut the power off and killed them people because Biden left them. That's why Pelosi was saying, we don't say open sesame, we say open Biden. And the giggle she let out was so evil. Like she was like she was just ecstatic because they all vote for China. And if the military is not doing what they're saying that they're doing behind the scenes, then America is done. Same thing with Cuomo. Cuomo then killed by putting 16,000 elderly people.
exactly.
And they diverted that with the sexual harassment. Nobody talking about the 16,000 people that he sealed in their doom. It ain't just that. He lied about the number. You know what they saying? Oh, he need to be impeached for kissing girls and touching them. What about the people he just caused to die? He shouldn't be impeached. That's arrest, and he need to get on up out of here. But this is what they're doing. So the people are becoming angrier and angrier because the law does what it says. This is why the deep state stuff is real. That's why there's no way you can tell me the Illuminati and the deep state not real. You can pick a name who you want. You can call them the Care Bear team. It don't matter. If you tell me if I call somebody to die as a citizen, the cops gonna come get me. A chick can say I raped somebody with no proof. They gonna come get me and move me. They're not gonna say, oh, right.
That's
they
called
not gonna
death threats, sibling. That's called death threats.
What's that?
When you start saying you're gonna kill someone, they're gonna arrest your ass and lock you up for death threats. You know what I mean?
Dude here and Biden them is causing death. Certified. There's no rumors or nothing. Cuomo's aide came out and told it. And they're still sitting in positions of power. And nobody is doing anything. So this is why it's ripe for China and them, because they stirring the pot with race relations because they not gonna fix anything. And that's what they want to do. But according to the people, and CIA experts and all these different people who talk to folks on other levels, they're saying things are being done behind the scenes. And my research is showing that.
Okay, on that note, sibling, listen, on that note, no more jewels for tonight, man. No more jewels for tonight. You know what I mean? The crown's almost empty and thing, you know what I mean? So, on that note, as I say, excellent honors for the excellent build, honors for the light being shared. We'll definitely catch it up for a part 2, as I say, and go into some more specific detail. Like if you ain't already know about it, go over to the website, which will be very shortly in the description, and check that out, man. And, you know what I mean? Do the knowledge, show yourself approved and all those things there. Like, comment, subscribe, most definitely share.